What is up, boys and girls? Londrick here, and now I'm back with another edition of Lundrick's Fave Fives. And this time, because the G1 Climax is starting this Saturday, we're going to go for G1 Climax matches. Now, this is probably one of the hardest Fave Fives I've ever made, believe it or not, because there's just so many awesome matches in the history of the G1 Climax, especially over the last 5 years or so, that it's inevitable some of your favourite matches won't be on this list. It's just how it goes. I can only pick 5. Where realistically I'd probably pick a fave 20 G1 Climaxes and still have stuff missing. So yeah, with the G1 Climax coming up this Saturday, let's look back at some of the most iconic and most awesome G1 Climaxes of all time. So before I get the actual video, let's rattle off a few honourable mentions. So honourable mentions: Shinsuke Nakamura versus Kazuchika Okada from G1 Climax 24 final, and a rematch the following year for G1 Climax 25. Tetsuya Naito versus Kota Ibushi from the first day of the G1 Climax 27. Okada versus Tanahashi. Two big draws from G1 26 and G1 28. Okada versus Ishii from G1 26. AJ Styles versus Hiroshi Tanahashi from G1 Climax 25. And the one that I'm going to get the most heat for, but I'm just going to say it: Kenny Omega versus Tetsuya Naito from G1 Climax 26. Sorry. So with that out of the way, let's get the actual list. So coming at number 5, we're going back to G1 Climax 23. I believe it was day 4, but I could be wrong about the day. It was the same show that Nakamura faced Kota Ibushi in the main event, and that's Tomohiro Ishii versus Katsuyori Shibata. So, yeah, I hated to have to leave out Omega versus Naito from 26. And objectively, that's probably a slightly better match than this one, but I just love this match so much that I had to include it, really. I mean, it's probably the one I'll probably get the most disagreements over, but I just really want to include this match, and I had to do it at the expense of Omega Naito. So if it was a Fave 6 video, Omega versus Naito from 26 would be on there. So yeah, G1 Climax 26, this is what, 6 years ago now, 2013. We had a match, and a match that was pretty fucking epic, and it was the basic premise around this match. So what's great about pro wrestling is it could be a lot of different things. You might have a fantastic technical wrestler match of 30-35 minutes where guys exchange holds, great counters, great submissions. Or you could do a Will Ospreay versus Ricochet and just fly around the ring and do some insane acrobatic high spots for 20 minutes and get people talking. Or we could maybe go the hardcore route and bring out all the weapons such as tables, thumbtacks, barbed wire, etc. The basic premise of this match was Tomohiro Ishii's hard as fuck, Shibata's hard as fuck. So we're just going to go in there and have two guys just whack and beat the crap out of each other. So I guess the G123 by all accounts was pretty much Tomohiro Ishii's breaking out party. I mean, he'd been a wrestler for a long time. I think he was debuted in the mid 1990s. Came in New Japan. I'm not sure exactly when he debuted in New Japan, but it was either late 2000s, early 2010s, and for the most part, he was just kind of there on the roster. Member of Chaos, would be in 6-man tag matches. Not really do anything significant, but really underrated worker in, I think, 2013 is when he finally started getting his chance of getting a little bit of a push, and to then really show what he could do. I mean, in this G1 Climax, I believe he actually beat Tanahashi on the first night. So Tomohiro Ishii, for me, I just love this guy so much. Not in a gay way, I just like Tomohiro Ishii's work. Just to be clear about that. Yeah, because for me, I love the believability in wrestling. I mean, obviously we know wrestling's not real, but when you watch a match and you can totally buy what you see, and that's when wrestling's at its best. And Tomohiro Ishii does that better than just about anybody, really. And Katsuyori Shibata, same thing. Shibata had been, he was one of the new Three Musketeers in the mid 2000s that was going to take New Japan out of the Dark Ages into the future. And those three guys were Hiroshi Tanahashi, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Katsuyori Shibata. However, Shibata decided to ditch pro wrestling, go to MMA. This was about 2006 maybe, that sort of time period. Not sure how he did in MMA, to be honest with you, I don't know. But then he came back to New Japan in about, I guess about 2011, 2012, again not certain. And I guess obviously being an MMA fighter that helped him bring a lot of realism to his style. I mean that's the thing. I think a lot of fans think MMA style wrestlers are boring, but they do bring a sense of realism that guys that have never had real fights in their lives don't. And I think that's true here. And then here we are, G126. I mean, was this the first meeting between Ishii and Shibata? I don't know. I know they had many matches after this, right up until when Shibata had to retire in 2017. I believe the last match they had together was in the New Japan Cup in 2017 when Shibata beat Ishii. And yeah, I mean, you've seen a lot of matches where it comes up there. It starts with guys locking up, going to these holes. This match, not really. Bell rings, Ishii and Shibata run at each other and just start beating the shit out of each other. And this match wasn't even that long either. I think it was only like 12-13 minutes, but for matches under 15 minutes, this is probably one of the best you'll ever see. I mean, the pace was just absolutely incredible. And when people ask what is Japanese strong style, I would say watch this match. If I could recommend any match to really get people to understand what that style means, I think this is the one. I mean, they didn't really do that much other than strikes and suplexes and stuff like that. I mean, there was no nice little technical wrestling moves, and there was no fancy acrobatic gymnastic high spots. None of that in this one, and they weren't hitting each other's finishes every 3 or 4 times and kicking out either. They just laid it into each other. I mean, watch this match and tell me professional wrestling's fake. I mean, these guys are really laying it into each other, just really beating the shit out of each other. And it's one of those matches I think everybody needs to watch because it was absolutely awesome. Coming at number 4, we're going to go to last year and last year's final. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kota Ibushi. This one's always going to be special for me because it's the first ever G1 Climax final I saw live. I did watch the one of Kenny Omega and Naito, and we'll get to that. Just a little spoiler alert, we will get to that. But I didn't watch it live, and I really, really regretted it, because I watched that match like later that day, but I knew who won, so I just sat there and kind of wish I watched that live. So as much as I could last year, I watched probably about 3/4 of the G1 Climax live last year, and that's what I plan to do this year as well, because obviously sometimes I have to go to work and stuff, and believe it or not, watching Japanese wrestling is not really an excuse to call in sick at work, so it doesn't really work like that. So, but I was lucky enough that the timing was such that I could watch this G1 Climax final live and then go to work. Just as an example, I didn't watch Ibushi versus Omega live, unfortunately, but I did manage to watch it spoiler free, so that's something, I guess. So for the fact this is the first G1 Climax match I ever saw live, that's always going to be special. Then the fact the match was as amazing as it was is just an added bonus, really. So, I thought G1 Climax last year was pretty awesome, to be honest with you. I'll probably say 27 overall was a little bit better, but the standards were so high it was always going to be difficult to top that. But looking back, so many awesome G1 Climax matches last year, and none better than the final, and that just makes sense to me. I mean, really, when you have a G1 Climax in a tournament like this, the final should be the best match, and in New Japan it usually is, give or take the odd year, and it's usually like that for the New Japan Cup and the Best of the Super Juniors as well. The final should be and usually is the best match of the entire tournament. It was here, so you had the A block winner in Tanahashi. And Tanahashi, I think that was a surprise. I think most people expected Okada to win that block. Then they were thinking maybe Jay White. But I don't think they thought Tanahashi was going to do it. I mean, I didn't personally. But obviously Tanahashi, I think he lost his first match to Jay White and then went unbeaten. No, I tell a lie. He lost his second match to Jay White and then went unbeaten for the rest of the tournament because his first match was Suzuki. So he racked up some impressive victories over Minoru Suzuki, Michael Elgin, Hangman Page, Togi Makabe, and then his final of the block, outlasted Okada to go to a 30-minute draw, but with the advantage of 1 point, Tanahashi won his block. And then Ibushi, what a tournament he had, by the way. I mean, look at some of the matches he had in this tournament. I mean, with the likes of Juice Robinson, an awesome match with Hiroki Goto, a great match with Sanada, and then 3 fantastic block matches. The one of Tomohiro Ishii, god damn it, I loved that match. Then another awesome match with Naito, and then the big one, the block final versus Kenny Omega. And like, that was definitely an honourable mention if I didn't say it in the introduction. I think I did. But yeah, I watched that match like last week, and that was fantastic. And so Ibushi wins, and we get to this match. And what also I loved about this match is a little tiny thing, but the cornerman, obviously Kenny Omega, the Golden Lover's partner, was in there supporting Kota Ibushi, despite the fact Ibushi had already beaten Omega, and despite the fact that Ibushi won, he'd be facing Omega for the title at Wrestle Kingdom. So I love that. I mean, I always like that, the consistency about the Golden Lovers. Despite everything, they'll always be loyal to each other. And then Tanahashi, with a surprise, was Katsura Shibata came back to be in Tanahashi's corner, and that was great. And then with all that, then the match had a hell of a lot to live up to. And for me, I think it absolutely did. I mean, I think it's amazing how in the last couple of years, Tanahashi, despite getting into his 40s, despite having all his miles on the body clock and all the injuries, it seems for the last 3 or 4 years, Tanahashi's just been consistently injured. I mean, I think he's coming off bicep injuries around this time. He had taken a little bit of time off after Suzuki murdered him in New Beginning, and then when did he come back? He came back in time to face to face Okada for wrestling Don Taku, and because you don't actually listen to English commentary for the last few years, and they always talk about Tanahashi and his nagging injuries, but despite all that, he keeps going and keeps having these awesome matches. I mean, to me, that shows that Tanahashi is probably the greatest New Japan wrestler of all time. I mean, as awesome as Okada is, we'll see if Okada's having those level kind of matches in his 40s like Tanahashi's been having. So it was an interesting one because it was. I think we all assumed Kota Ibushi was going to win because we always thought it was going to be Ibushi versus Omega for Wrestle Kingdom. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. However, the match here was fantastic. What I loved about this match is the emotional connection with the fans. I mean, this was awesome storytelling at its absolute finest. This wasn't about doing loads of fancy, awesome moves, although there was a lot of great moves in this match. This was like an emotional roller coaster type of match where fans were so into it. I mean, I think Tanahashi's selling and storytelling is pretty much second to none in Japanese pro wrestling. And Ibushi, pound for pound, one of the best wrestlers in the entire world, has been for a while. And let's see how he does this year in the G1 Climax. Now he's signed full time to the promotion. And to the surprise of a lot of people, Tanahashi went over Ibushi, which to me, yeah, obviously, yes, I would have absolutely preferred Ibushi to go over. But Tanahashi versus Omega, that was a big match for Wrestle Kingdom, a match that had only happened once, and a chance for the Ace to get one more G1 Climax and one more Tokyo Dome main event, because I think, barring like an injury crisis or something like that, or them pushing someone and not working out and they need a short replacement, I think Tanahashi's days of winning G1 Climaxes and main event in Tokyo Domes and being the IWGP Heavyweight Champion are over. So I guess this is like one last hurrah for him, because with the circumstances around AEW and stuff, and Kenny Omega leaving, Tanahashi actually became the IWGP Champion again, which obviously if AEW wasn't a factor, I honestly don't think Kenny Omega would have lost the title at Wrestle Kingdom when he did. By all accounts, the original plan was for Omega versus Okada in Madison Square Garden. So, but anyway, this match was awesome. You definitely have to check this match out if you haven't seen it. Just an all-round classic, really. Coming in number 3, we're going back to 2015 in the G1 Climax 25 final, which was the King of Strong Style, Shinsuke Nakamura, versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. So, 2 guys that have really defined New Japan Pro Wrestling over the last 10 years. I mean, 2 of the original, well, not the original, but the newer version of them 3 Musketeers. The guys that were going to lead New Japan out of the Dark Ages and back into a great era. And here they were on the big stage of the G1 Climax final. They've had many battles in the past. And for me, this was the greatest match they ever had together. I mean, this match was amazing. If there's one match I would recommend fans of Shinsuke Nakamura watching from New Japan Pro Wrestling to see how good he really is, like, or maybe was, who knows. This would definitely be the one I'd recommend for absolute certainty. I mean, this match was an absolute classic. So, G1 Climax 25, another great G1 Climax. I haven't seen as much as I would like from that tournament, but I have seen most of the top matches of that tournament. And then we got so Nakamura won his block by beating Okada, and I absolutely love that match as well. Okada versus Nakamura from 25. I think that match is absolutely fantastic. Then Tanahashi won his block by beating AJ Styles in another awesome match. So here we are, two massive rivals that have headlined Tokyo Domes together, had battles for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship together, battle for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship together. I mean, they've done so much together over the years. I mean, they even headlined a Tokyo Dome show back in 2005, when both guys were just young guys trying to get noticed. And they headlined Wrestle Kingdom. I believe they headlined Wrestle Kingdom 2 as well in 2008. I'm sure they did, yeah. Then famously, the headlined Wrestle Kingdom 8 despite not being the world title match, in that infamous moment of the fans voting Naito out of the main event in favour of Okada versus Nakamura. And then probably the best match other than this one was Invasion Attack 2014. But here we are, these two guys in another big final, and yeah, it's a fucking awesome match. I mean, these guys were two of the best wrestlers on the planet at the time. Maybe still are. I mean, who knows about Nakamura? I mean, Nakamura and WWE don't need to go in detail about that, but yeah, just wow, what a match this was! Great match. So many twists and turns, so great intensity, awesome crowd, great psychology in this one. Some of the near falls, absolutely fantastic. As you'd expect, really, with these two guys. I mean, so many twists and turns. I mean, either guy could have conceivably won, and it would have been interesting. But I think it was pretty obvious Tanahashi was going to win and then face Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 9. But there was also that, what if it was a Chaos versus Chaos Wrestle Kingdom main event of Nakamura? So, but Tanahashi did win to win his second G1 Climax. So ironically, the last two have been about Tanahashi G1 Climax wins. But this was an awesome match. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. Coming in number 2, we're going to be G1 Climax 27 Day 18, the B block final. That's the third match of the epic 2017 trilogy, Okada vs Kenny Omega 3. So, what more can be said about the Kenny Omega Kazuchika Okada series that hasn't already been said? Just simply put, maybe the greatest series of matches of all time. It's definitely up there anyway. I mean, I'll always say Flair Steamboat from 89, but it took me 28 years for them to finally have a rival, in my opinion. I mean, just the matches these guys had, starting out with Wrestle Kingdom 11, that 47-minute classic with Okada going over, and then the 60-minute time limit draw with Dominion, going into the 60-minute draw, and then a whole year later, the 2 out of 3 falls 65+ minute match with Omega finally going over Okada to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. But there was another match in the series, and it came in form of the G1 Climax. It took place approximately 2 months after the Dominion 2017 Classic. So, as I've said before many times, that Okada vs Omega 2 was the match that really turned around and really made me a proper New Japan fan. And then so after that, so then G1 Climax was coming up, and that's the time when I just really started losing faith in WWE, which, to be fair, 2 years later I haven't really got back, and I'm still not really watching WWE properly. So getting into New Japan, then I had this awesome experience of the G1 Climax coming up, and this is going to be my big thing, to watch this and see if I become a fan of the product full time or not. And then what was also about, found out the blocks, because back then I didn't know exactly when the G1 blocks were going to be announced and all that shit, whereas nowadays I know roughly when it's going to be. So goes to find out it's going to be Omega versus Okada in the same block, and it's like, holy fuck, we're going to get to see Omega versus Okada again. This is going to be fucking sweet. I cannot wait to see this match. And smartly by New Japan, obviously, you book. So what they usually do, they book big matches to start the blocks, and they book the biggest matches to end the blocks. I mean, that just makes sense, really, doesn't it? I mean, that just makes a whole lot of sense. And they're doing that this year as well. So the A block final, that was Tanahashi versus Naito. Awesome, obviously makes sense. But the B block final, it was going to come down to Omega versus Okada. And we're really interesting, but there was a really interesting twist on this one. So often it's the case, it's sudden death rules, so whoever wins the block. Perfectly logical, right? Although this case, what New Japan did, it created an interesting situation really, where Omega had to beat Okada, but Okada could have afforded to go to a 30-minute time limit draw. So right there and then you've got a completely different match on your hands. So Okada went unbeaten in the G1 blocks until the last 3 nights. So first he was upset by Evil in an upset loss, and then on the 8th match of his tournament, he was held to a 30-minute draw by Minoru Suzuki. So as Omega lost a couple of matches, I can't even remember all his losses, but coming in, Okada had a 1-point advantage over Omega, I believe. So yeah, as I say, Omega had to beat Okada. Okada did not have to beat Omega. So now, but even more daunting for Omega was the fact he had to do this inside 30 minutes. Now bear in mind, up until this point, him and Okada had been in the ring for like 1 hour 47 minutes, and Omega could never do it. So Okada beat him in a 47-minute match at Wrestle Kingdom. Then in 1 hour, Kenny Omega could not put away Okada. So how could he do this? I mean, and that's why I love this match, because obviously the other 3, they all pretty much follow the same formula, but I think this one was a completely different match to all the others. Because like I say, with the stipulations and all that, there was a lot more purpose to this match. I mean, Omega had to beat Okada, and he had to beat him relatively quickly. And I just love the aggression of Omega in this match. I mean, this because over the course of the tournament, Okada had been battered up quite a bit. I mean, they were selling the fact that Okada had a bad neck. I know Minoru Suzuki pretty much brutalised him in that 30-minute match just a couple of days earlier. So that was going to be the target of Kenny Omega. He was going to go after the neck of Okada, beat it up, and obviously that makes sense because Kenny Omega's finisher, the One-Wing Angel, the most damage is on the neck, right? So it makes a lot of sense. So because I think there was a much faster pace of this one because of the stipulation and because of the time, and they didn't have an hour to draw out a classic match. And this revolved around the One-Wing Angel as well, because that's the one thing Omega was never able to do to Okada in the centre of the ring. He did hit the One-Wing Angel once in the 1 hour draw, but they were so close to the ropes that Okada had got his feet on the ropes. And up until this point in New Japan, and as a matter of fact, right at the end of Omega's New Japan career, nobody ever kicked out of that move. And God, this match was fucking awesome. Just the work by Omega, going for Okada's neck, Okada trying to fight back, but and then about 25 minutes in, Omega actually finally does it. Hits the One-Wing Angel to defeat Okada. Classic match. Awesome match. And that's when Omega got his first victory over Okada. And that just tied everything the following year, because in 2017, Okada won, Omega won, 1 draw. Then they had the 2 out of 3 falls match the following year, which Omega won. So, really, to be honest, this is really an essential building block in the story arc of the Omega Okada series. I mean, what storytelling it was, though, to be honest with you. Just fucking awesome match. Absolutely must see match if you haven't seen it. And with that ties very nicely into number 1. The following night, the grand final of the G1 Climax 27, Kenny Omega versus Tetsuya Naito, and the culmination of an awesome G1 Climax, and just awesome all round stuff. So there's a precedent for this one as well. The year before, Omega and Naito had an absolute classic in the G1 Climax 26. I believe that was a block final. I'm sure it was. Yeah, that was a block final as well. The first time they'd ever touched before, and they had an awesome match, an absolute classic, a 5-star match in my book. Absolutely outstanding stuff. And they never touched again until the following year when the stars aligned with Naito winning his block, the A block, defeating Tanahashi, and then Kenny Omega defeating Okada in that aforementioned match. So, could Omega do something incredible? Could he have a 5-star match with Kazuchika Okada, go to bed, wake up, and do it all the next day and have another 5-star classic match with Naito? The answer for me was yes, he could. Yes, he could. God, this match was incredible. I mean, it was one of those the fans were so into Naito as well at this time because this was the time when Naito's popularity exploded with this was a culmination of about a 3 or 4 year story of Naito winning the G1 Climax in 2013 and then being rejected by the fans and then even more insultingly getting voted out of the Wrestle Kingdom 8 main event, and then Naito went away to CMLL, formed Los Ingobernables Japan, came back to New Japan as a heel, was really just a disrespectful piece of shit heel, built himself up by winning the Intercontinental title from I can't remember. I can't remember who won the Intercontinental title. Oh, did he beat Tanahashi? Yeah, I think he did. But before that, he got his sniff of the IWGP Championship. He won the New Japan Cup in 2016, beats Okada at Invasion Attack, but it's also brief because he loses the title 2 months later at Dominion. So he'd had his run at the top and it fell down. So then he goes to the Intercontinental title scene, uses the Intercontinental title to build himself up. And then the G1 Climax comes around, right? This is his chance for redemption. If he wins the G1 Climax, he gets another shot at the Wrestle Kingdom main event, which he then lost, but we'll not get into that one here. So fans were sort of Naito. And then he had, either way, it was a win-win situation because Naito wins, we get the Okada Naito Wrestle Kingdom main event. Omega wins, we get Omega versus Okada again. Then all this was really just two of the best professional wrestlers in the world having a match for 30 plus minutes, and they just brought it. They absolutely brought it. I mean, this is one of those matches I think just watch it and make your own judgments, but just everything about this match was great. Everything, the moves, the story, the crowd, the pace, everything, and they just brought so much crazy shit to this match. It was one of those matches where they were just beating the crap out of it, just to the point where it's like, okay, and this is, I get this feeling a lot in New Japan matches, like, alright boys, just calm down. You don't have to really put yourself at this kind of risk. I mean, hitting your heads off the ring post, constantly getting dropped on your head, that sort of thing. It's like, don't need to do that to have an entertaining match, but did it anyway. I mean, there were so many twists and turns. I mean, either guy could have won, and that's what they were selling the story on. But at the end, it was Tetsuya Naito who went over Kenny Omega in an absolute classic match. One of the best matches of both men's careers. I think for me, definitely the match of Naito's career. A couple of the Okada matches were better for Omega, but this match, fuck, what a match. I mean, and this is a match that really sold me, because obviously the Okada match, and I watched the entire G1 Climax, not bits of every single day, but I didn't watch it live, unfortunately. And I left this thinking, God, I wish I'd watched this match live, I really do. Or at least watch the spoiler free, because if I didn't already know Naito had won, I think I would have been even more invested in it than I already was. But God, this match ruled. This match absolutely fucking ruled. I mean, if you haven't seen this match, you definitely need to see it. For me, it is the best G1 Climax final that I've ever seen. I will preface that by saying that I've ever seen. Maybe some of the matches from the 90s and the early 2000s were better. I don't know. So, I've only really seen the G1 Climax finals from 22 up until now. So, out of those ones, this one definitely stands above the rest. And it'll be incredibly hard for this match to ever be topped. I mean, could it be topped? Yeah, absolutely it could. But it'll be an extremely difficult task nonetheless. So, that's a wrap, guys. So, thanks for watching. And as far as the G1 Climax goes, as last year, yes, I am going to review every single show. Hopefully YouTube won't be dicks and try to take the videos down for spam this year. But, so I'll like I said, I'll watch live when I can. And I will review every show, but sometimes because of schedule, I might be a day or two behind or something like that. But I will watch every single G1 Climax match, not the tag matches, just the block matches, and they all will get reviewed. And I'm thinking when the G1 Climax starts, I'll probably stop doing other kind of videos and just focus all my attention on that, to be honest. So I might do a Fave Five next week, I don't know, or another audio video. But I'm thinking probably while the G1 Climax is going on, I'll probably focus just solely on that. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, peace.